From afar, the Adiwale family looked perfect. A big house, 2 luxurious cars, and a daughter so beautiful, she could melt your heart with a smile. But behind closed doors, something was broken. Quietly, dangerously broken. Amaka, the mother, was a social media influencer. Always snapping pictures, applying filters, and chasing trends. Her phone was her world. She'd wake up, grab her phone, and scroll endlessly. Instagram lives, TikTok dances, collaborations with brands. Her 4-year-old daughter, Zara, would wake up alone most mornings. Chaka, the father, was a successful architect. Sharp, neat, and always in a rush. His job demanded long hours and late nights. Every morning, he'd rush out before sunrise and come back after Zara was asleep. So, they hired a nanny, Miss Janet. Miss Janet arrived with soft-spoken charm and glowing references. She was in her late 40s, wore simple Ankara gowns and always tied her hair with a dull scarf. Her voice was calm, almost too calm. The moment she stepped into the Adiwale home, she melted into the background like wallpaper. Silent, present, invisible. Amaka didn't bother asking too many questions. She was busy editing a product review video. "I just need someone consistent. Someone that won't ruin my brand schedule," she muttered, barely making eye contact. Cheka barely noticed her. He nodded politely, handed her Zara's medical card, and left for work. "Please be good to her. She's just 4. Zara took to Miss Janet quickly. In a house where everyone seemed too busy to really see her, Miss Janet became her new normal. She tied Zara's hair in the mornings, fed her pap with honey, and sang lullabies at bedtime. But slowly, very slowly, things began to change. Miss Janet started isolating Zara. "No, madam. She doesn't want to play with you now. She says you talk too much," she told Amaka one afternoon, blocking Zara from going to her mother. "She's fine," Janet would say to the father. "She slept like a baby. Very playful today." But Zara's drawings were telling another story. Dark stick figures behind doors, small sad eyes with tears, and tiny arms covering heads. One day, Zara whispered, "Daddy, can I go with you?" Cheka smiled and ruffled her hair. "Ah, Daddy is going to work. Big girl things. Stay with Nanny. Okay?" He didn't see her face fall. Another evening, Amaka tried to post a dance video and Zara tugged on her gown, desperate for attention. "Mommy, let's play kitchen." "Later, baby. This video is trending." Miss Janet was watching. From the hallway. With cold, calculating eyes. Whenever the parents left, the house transformed. Janet's face would tighten like iron. She snapped when Zara laughed too loudly. "Why are you smiling like a goat? Sit down and shut up." If Zara cried, Miss Janet would hiss, "Go ahead. Cry. Your mommy won't even notice." Zara began wetting the bed. She began talking less. She flinched when anyone touched her shoulder. Her once bubbly laughter turned to silence. And the worst part? Nobody noticed. Not the Instagram-famous mother. Not the workaholic father. Only the nanny saw, and fed, the little girl's pain. "Mommy, look at me." Zara stood on the edge of the couch, arms wide like a little superhero, her tiny feet trembling with excitement. She had built a tower with her blocks, something she'd been trying to do for days. Her eyes sparkled, craving one thing, her mother's applause. But Amaka didn't even blink. She was seated just a few feet away, ring light glowing in front of her, phone mounted, face fully made up for her Instagram live. "Hey besties. Welcome back to my channel. Don't forget to like and share," she giggled into her phone, flipping her hair and blowing kisses to her virtual fans. Zara stood frozen. Her tower wobbled, crashed. Her heart broke a little more. She climbed down quietly, picked the scattered blocks, and went back to her corner like a rejected shadow in her own home. Amaka was no longer mummy. She was mompreneur. Brand ambassador. Skincare queen. A woman who smiled online, but never saw her child frown in real life. When Zara cried, Amaka increased the volume of her playlist. When Zara tried to talk, Amaka said, "Hold on, I'm editing a reel." Even when she cooked, it was never for nourishment, it was for content. "Today, I'm teaching you how to make healthy pancakes for your picky eaters," she said to her audience, even though Zara had eaten cereal and juice for the last 5 days. At school pickup, Zara waited an extra hour because her mother was filming a product review. At night, Zara sometimes called out for her, but the only answer she got was the sound of Amaka laughing on the phone with her influencer friends. The only person always around was Miss Janet. And Miss Janet, when the cameras weren't rolling, was never kind. One afternoon, Tola visited. Amaka's friend and fellow influencer. As they chatted on the porch, Zara ran outside, arms open to hug her mom. But Amaka didn't even look up. "Zara, don't disturb now. I'm filming a collaboration." Zara turned slowly and sat at the bottom step. Her small eyes stared into space, her lips trembling. Tola watched her. Really watched her. Something wasn't right. Later that evening, while scrolling through one of Amaka's reels, Tola paused and zoomed in. Zara was in the background, frozen in a corner, staring straight at Miss Janet, who was behind the camera. Zara's eyes were wide. Fearful. It didn't look like a child who felt safe. It looked like a silent scream for help. That night, Tola couldn't sleep. Something about Zara's eyes in that video haunted her. The way the child stood motionless, her shoulders tense, her mouth slightly parted, like she wanted to scream but had been taught not to. Tola picked up her phone and called Cheka. "Sorry to call you this late, but something isn't right with Zara," she whispered. Cheka sat up in bed, rubbing his tired eyes. "What do you mean?" "I don't know how to explain it, but that child, she's scared. Like deeply scared. And it's not from cartoons or school." Cheka sighed. "Tola, I barely even get to see her. Work is killing me. I'm hardly ever home." "Exactly," Tola said. "You and Amaka, you've both checked out. She's alone, with that nanny." Her words struck like thunder. The next morning, Cheka called in sick and drove to a tech shop. By noon, he had installed 3 tiny hidden cameras, in the living room, Zara's bedroom, and the kitchen. He didn't tell Amaka. She wouldn't care. She had a paid skincare ad shoot scheduled that afternoon. He only said, "I just want to be more involved. I want to understand what goes on at home when we're not around." 3 days passed. Zara remained quiet, as always. Amaka stayed glued to her phone, as always. Miss Janet hummed softly during chores and kept her movements neat, almost robotic. But when Chaka sat alone one night, opened the hidden footage, and pressed play, what he saw made his blood run cold. At exactly 10:03 a.m., the moment Amaka stepped out for her shoot, Miss Janet turned off the television and dragged Zara by her wrist into the kitchen. "You think you're a princess, ABI? See your head like watermelon," she barked, slapping the back of Zara's head. Zara sobbed softly, trying to explain she was hungry. "Hungry? After wasting food this morning? You'll learn today." Miss Janet shoved the child into a corner and forced her to kneel on bare tiles with arms raised. She locked the fridge. She snatched her coloring book and tore the pages. She screamed into her tiny face. "Your mommy doesn't care about you. Look at her, always dancing for camera like Memi Water." Zara cried until she fell asleep on the cold floor. The next clip showed something even worse. Zara wet herself while kneeling. Miss Janet opened the back door, dragged her outside, and poured cold water from a bucket over her small body. "You're an animal. You don't deserve clean clothes." Zara cried until she was shivering. Alone. Wet. Humiliated. Cheka dropped his phone. His chest tightened. His eyes welled up. His own daughter, his only child, had been suffering, while he buried himself in blueprints and deadlines. He played more footage. It repeated again. And again. And again. Different days. Same torment. Zara flinched whenever Miss Janet raised her hand. She whispered to her teddy bear at night, "Mommy doesn't want me. Daddy forgot me." Cheka fell to his knees, the weight of his failure crushing him. "I failed you, baby girl," he whispered through tears. Checker couldn't breathe. The walls of his office suddenly felt too small. His throat tightened. His fingers trembled over the laptop keyboard as the footage replayed again and again, each scene more unbearable than the last. His daughter, his Zara, kneeling on cold tiles, begging for food, being called names, animal, stupid, nobody loves you. And the worst part? She believed it. He could see it in her eyes. The way her shoulders slumped. The way her tears fell quietly, as if she'd learned there was no point in crying out loud anymore. Checker stood up, grabbed his keys, and drove home like a man possessed. When he burst through the door, Amaka was filming a makeup tutorial. Guys, I'm going to show you how to contour with this. Turn it off, Checker snapped, his voice deadly calm. Amaka blinked, startled. Excuse me. I said turn it off, he roared. Startled, she turned off the camera. The ring light cast long shadows across the room as silence fell like a heavy curtain. Zara sat in the corner, clutching her teddy bear. Her eyes darted between her parents. Her little hands shook. Checker walked to the TV, plugged in his laptop, and opened the footage. The living room. The kitchen. Zara crying. Janet yelling. Then, the water scene. Amaka gasped, her hand flying to her chest. Wait, what is this? What's going on? Just watch, Checker said coldly, his eyes never leaving the screen. The next clip played. Miss Janet slapped Zara's head, locked her in the storage room, called her dirty like her mother. No, 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 stop. Amaka sobbed. Stop playing it. This isn't real. She said Zara was doing fine. She said. She lied, Checker snapped, his voice shaking. And you didn't notice. You were too busy waiting for likes. For views. For validation from strangers on a screen. Tears poured down Amaka's face. She turned to Zara, who sat frozen, watching both of them with haunted eyes. My baby, Amaka whispered. What have I done? Before anyone could move, a loud knock echoed through the house. It was the police. Tola had already filed a report. Miss Janet was arrested within minutes. But as they dragged her out, she screamed, You think this is my fault? She was never loved in this house. I only gave her what her useless parents denied her. Amaka collapsed into a chair, sobbing uncontrollably. Zara didn't run to her. She just held her teddy bear tighter and whispered to it instead. That night, the house was quiet. No ring lights. No filters. No edited smiles. Only reality. Checker sat on the floor beside Zara's bed, holding her tiny hand. Amaka knelt on the other side, stroking her daughter's hair gently. Can you ever forgive us? Amaka whispered. Zara didn't answer. She simply closed her eyes, and a single tear slipped down her cheek. The house felt like a crime scene. Empty. Guilty. Still. After Miss Janet was dragged away in handcuffs, Amaka sat on the kitchen floor, arms wrapped around her knees, trembling. Her makeup was smeared, her lashes clumped from tears, her wig sat crooked on her head, but she didn't care. She stared at Zara's little pink cup, still half filled with cold chocolate milk, and began to sob again. She asked me to drink with her yesterday, she whispered to herself. And I told her to go sit down. I told her I was busy. Checker stood by the window, his fists clenched, jaw tight. He had never hated himself more. I gave this girl everything. Clothes, school, a safe house. But what is safety without love? He said under his breath. They had built a beautiful house, but left their daughter homeless in their hearts. Later that night, Checker and Amaka sat at Zara's bedside. She lay between them, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. Not blinking. Not talking. Not crying. Her silence screamed louder than any tantrum could. Checker held her hand. Zara, baby, we're so sorry, he whispered. Amaka touched her hair gently. We didn't know, my love. We should have known. We should have seen. We failed you. Zara didn't move. She turned her head to the side, away from both of them. Amaka burst into tears again, falling to her knees beside the bed. My phone. I chose my phone over my own child, she wept. I chose strangers over the girl I carried for 9 months. Cheka knelt beside her. I chose my work, my ambition, over my own blood. There was no noise in the room except the soft hum of the ceiling fan and the sounds of 2 broken parents finally waking up. Zara still said nothing. Her teddy bear, worn and dirty, was clutched tight against her chest. The next morning, Amaka woke up early. For the first time in months, she didn't touch her phone. She made breakfast, real breakfast. Pancakes shaped like stars. Warm cocoa. Mango slices, just the way Zara liked them. She took Zara's hand and said softly, "Come, baby. Let's eat together. Just us." Zara followed her silently. She still wasn't smiling, but she sat beside her mother. And when Amaka poured syrup over the pancakes, Zara whispered, "You remembered." Amaka's hands shook. Tears welled up again. Chaka joined them, quietly placing his phone on silent mode and slipping it into a drawer. That morning, they ate as a family, not influencers, not executives. Just 2 parents trying to piece back their little girl's broken heart. A few weeks passed. There were no more ring lights in the living room. No more constant ping-ping-ping of notification sounds. The once noisy, picture-perfect Adiwale home had become a quiet space of rebuilding. Amaka deleted all her social media apps. She packed away her wigs, ring lights, and tripods into storage boxes. "I need to know my daughter again," she told herself. Every morning, she brushed Zara's hair herself, even though her hands were shaky and she sometimes got it wrong. She started walking Zara to school holding her hand, smiling at her, telling stories along the way. The neighbors whispered, confused, "Isn't that the Instagram queen? What happened to all her shining videos?" Amaka didn't care. She finally saw the real trophy she had ignored all along, Zara. Cheka also changed. He no longer left home before sunrise or returned after midnight. He declined projects, stepped away from overtime, and began picking Zara up from school himself. Sometimes, he packed her lunch personally. Simple things like jollof rice shaped with love and small notes that said, "Daddy loves you." At first, Zara remained quiet. Suspicious. Watching. Waiting to see if it was just another phase. But slowly, very slowly, something changed. She started humming again while drawing. She started giggling when her daddy chased her around the house. She even began calling her mother Mummy again, instead of just nodding silently. One evening, they sat together on the balcony. Chaka, Amaka, and Zara. They watched the sunset without phones, without distractions, just listening to the birds and to each other's heartbeats. "Mummy." Zara spoke suddenly. Amaka froze, tears threatening to spill. "Yes, my baby. Are you still busy?" Amaka shook her head and pulled Zara gently into her arms. "Never again. Not with the things that don't matter." Zara smiled, a real, bright smile. The first in months. She laid her head on her mother's chest while Cheka wrapped his arms around both of them. From that day, they made a family promise, handwritten and pinned on the fridge. "We will watch each other. We will listen to each other. We will love each other, even when life tries to distract us." And for the first time in a very long time, Zara slept peacefully, knowing she wasn't alone anymore.